briefing coming to you on Sunday, the 31st of May. And yes, here on New Zealand Sports Radio, we help you start the day the best way, up to date with the important sports news every morning at 7 a.m. In the news today, EPL to return, stop squabbling in Australia, Warriors to perfect start, F1 confirms its start, yachting regattas resume in the real world, and e-sailing as well. And let's jump on into the football news. And before we go to the UK, let's get ourselves up to date with the Belarusian Premier League. And I'm just trying to click refresh because I forgot to refresh before we came on air. But we have two results from overnight. Belashina and Slavia fought out a 2-3 game, meaning Slavia got themselves an away victory there. And then Dynamo Minsk lost to Shakhtyor 0-1. So two away wins overnight in the Belarusian league. See Shakhtyor climb up to fourth in the table, going above my team Sluts for the time being. Sluts play Minsk on at 3 a.m. Tuesday morning New Zealand time. So we'll have a result for you on Tuesday, and that's good news because Minsk have had to miss out the last two rounds due to coronavirus in their squad. But it looks like they are back into action this weekend. Moving on to the UK and the UK government. The Phase 3 guidance paves the way for live sport to return on the 1st of June for the first time since mid-March. Individual sports will need to assess the risk, etc. Horse racing and snooker will each resume competitive action tomorrow, while the Premier League is due to start on the 17th of June. That's brought you up to date with our football news. I'm going to hand you over to Stephen, who's going to take us through our birthdays this morning.
Good, thanks, Paul, and good morning, everybody, and welcome to the second day of what is a long weekend here in Aotearoa. In birthdays this morning, one of the great New Zealand rugby second rowers, another Canterbury first five from a long line out of Christchurch Boys High, and finally, one of the best, if not the best forward in a World Rugby League, and that's where we start. Our birthdays this morning. Jason Taumalolo, born this day, the 31st of May, 1993, is a professional rugby league footballer who plays as a second row and lock for North Queensland Cowboys in the NRL. He has played for Tonga and New Zealand at international level. Taumalolo, who celebrates his 27th birthday today, played for the NRL All-Stars, and he was a member of the Cowboys' 2015 NRL Grand winning and 2016 World Club Challenge winning sides, and won the Daly M medal in 2016. Taumalolo is not only considered by many as the best rugby league player in the world, but also one of the highest paid rugby league players. Moving on, Tyler Blyndale, born this day, the 31st of May 1990, is a former New Zealand rugby union player who played for Canterbury, Crusaders and Munster during his playing career. His regular position was fly half, but he could also play at centre. Interesting. He was forced to retire from rugby in May 2020 after persistent neck injuries. The talented first five, who turns 30 today, comes from a long line of players in that particular position that attended Christchurch Boys High. First fives who've gone on to play rugby for the All Blacks: Aaron Major, Colin Slade, Andrew Mertens and Dan Carter, just to name a few. And finally, Brodie Allen Retallick, born this day, the 31st of May 1991, is a New Zealand rugby union footballer who plays as lock for the Kobe Lekko Steelers in the top league in Japan. Retallick is currently on a sabbatical from the Chiefs in Super Rugby, having worked his way there by playing for the Magpies in the Mitre 10 Cup. Retallick, who celebrates his 28th birthday today, made his international debut for New Zealand in 2012 and has been a regular starter ever since, having amassed 81 tests since his debut. He was a key member of the 2015 Rugby World Cup winning team, the winner of the Rugby World Cup Player of the Year in 2014, and is the award's youngest winner to date. Retallick has earned frequent comparisons to the late former All Black lock Sir Colin Meads, and some very impressive birthdays this morning, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. And we must remind everyone that having 1,500 square meters of land is not a farm, according to Gregory Paddock.
No, it's not. He's right. It's not a farm. That's taking a bit of free license. I think they call them lifestyle blocks, Paul.
Yes, exactly. Lifestyle blocks down there. Now, as I got informed over on a chat with a mate yesterday, if you put fresh eggs sign out at the end of your lifestyle block, it's a sign that you're a townie who has moved out to the to the country and bought yourself too many chickens. You can't eat all your eggs. So there you go. Little tip there for you folks who are planning on moving out. Moving on to rugby news, and Dave Rennie, who is taking up his position as the head coach of the Wallabies, has had a chat, had a conference yesterday, and had a chat saying things have been a bit messy, and that's putting it mildly. He said, "Look, we need to stop squabbling, and that discussions need to happen behind closed doors." Yes, and that's something that we've mentioned before, is that discussions clearly or disagreements have happened in New Zealand, but clearly but they are discussed behind closed doors, and then you get a united front, and those things, and that's what's needed in Australia as well. He's obviously been hired by under the previous head of Australian Rugby, or chief executive of Australian Rugby, Raelene Castle, but he's still planning on going over there. He says, "Look, we're down ranked 7th in the world, and they need to get higher up than that," and that is very true. And he's planning on catching up with Cheika to have a chat about how things are going and what needs to be done and what doesn't, and how things are. So yes, it looks like he's settling in there into his new role over there in I think he's in his conference calling from New Zealand, but certainly clearly getting plans in place for that. Having just stayed with the rugby news, and Stephen, the Warriors have kicked back off in the NRL. Let us know how it all went.
Yeah, that they have impressive style. They certainly turned the form book on its head with a very impressive performance. They've given their fans the perfect start to round 3 of the revamped NRL, keeping the St. George Dragons to 0, taking out an 18-0 victory after leading 12-0 at half-time. The Warriors scored 2 first-half tries to youngsters Jermaine Tonoa-Brown and Alessia Katoa, both converted by Cody Nikorima, who also added a second-half penalty as well as touching down for the Warriors' only second-half points, making the Warriors win. More impressive was the completion of a 45 out of 47 sets of 6, 45 being an NRL record. The only real concern for Coach Stephen Kearney will be the injuries with Peter Hiku ribs, King Vuni Yayawa with a neck injury, adding to an already mounting toll, and prop Ignatius Pussy is on report for an illegal tackle on kicker Corey Norman. In the second Saturday game, the West Tigers came back from 10-16 down at halftime to score 18 unanswered points in the second half to beat the Cronulla Sharks 28-16 at Bankwest Stadium in Sydney. It was the Tigers who hit the ground running early, out to a 10-0 scoreline after 8 minutes, compliments of 2 early tries. However, it was the Sharks that hit back with 3 tries. Winger Josh Dugan dotting down twice to head into the break, leading by 6. After a tight struggle in the first 10 minutes of the second half, it was the Tigers who kept the scoreboard moving, nailing another 3 second-half tries to clear away for the win. And in our final game of the weekend, which is just popping up on the teleprompter, it was the Canberra Raiders who ground down the home side, the Melbourne Storm 22-6, after leading 18-6 at halftime in a game played at Amy Park in Melbourne. The visitors shot out to a 12-0 lead after 15 minutes, courtesy of a couple of converted tries before Melbourne hit back with a converted try of their own on the 30-minute mark. But it would be the Raiders who went into the last 5 minutes ahead comfortably, who sealed the deal with a final try right on full time, and that's pretty much very much gave them a 16-point margin. We'll have a quick look at the previews in games today, Paul. We have the Penrith Panthers taking on the Newcastle Knights at Campbelltown Stadium in Campbelltown. Kickoff is at 6:05 p.m. New Zealand time, so just around dinner time. Should be a cracker as both teams go into this game unbeaten from the time the season was suspended. And in our final game of round 3, the Manly Sea Eagles take on the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs at Central Coast Stadium in Gosford. Kickoff is at 8:30 p.m. New Zealand time. The Bulldogs go into the match having yet to pick up a victory this season, while Manly have just the one win, which was against the Roosters in round 2, courtesy of a late Daly Cherry Evans drop kick, which saw the Sea Eagles getting home 9 points to 8. So that's a nice little way to end that third round of this evening, Paul, around about dinner time. And if you've got enough energy after dinner, you can stay up until 8:30. That's the rugby league news. I think we'll be back. We'll have the table maybe up and running tomorrow morning for everybody.
Thank you very much. Yes, for those of you who watch on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, we'll have the table up for you on screen. Don't forget, you can also listen to New Zealand Sports Radio. Just search for our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or iHeartRadio, and then you can you can listen to us on the go. Over in sailing, and it's been a return for real sailing and also e-sailing. So the Zurich New Zealand eSail Challenge Finals will be live streamed tonight at 7 p.m. So, folks, if you want to get yourself a fix of sailing, then tune in to that. Just check out Grassroots Sailing New Zealand page on Facebook for those details. Yesterday, we told you about the Team Race Challenge, but also it has been the Winter Sprint Series at Kohimarama has been taking place this weekend as well. So lots of sailing going on at Grassroots here in New Zealand. Moving on to basketball, and Mika Vuokona has put himself in to the NBL, the 2020 NBL draft, and the 38-year-old has got 162 Tall Blacks caps, and he said he just couldn't miss out on playing this one. To give you an idea as to how much he's into this, he is currently in Australia, which means that he will have to 14-day quarantine, plus then spend that 5 weeks in the bubble. So that's only 7 weeks away from his family to take part in this competition. So yeah, clearly a lot of big commitment from him to do that. So great to have him on board with the NBL in the draft with myself, obviously, that will be taking place on the 10th of June. So got to say, though, I think he will probably get drafted ahead of me in the NBL draft. Moving on to the NBA, and they've set their sights on the 31st of June to resume games. In a call, there were multiple with the headed by Adam Silver. That's what he said. No decision has yet been made on the format. There are a number of options. One of them is to bring back all 30 teams and finish the regular season. Other options include having 22 teams back and 16 teams back. Apparently, the teams that have got no chance of making the playoffs really are not interested in returning. Because you've got to remember, it's all going to take place probably down in Florida at the ESPN Wide World of Sports complex in Disney World down there. This is not going to be in front of their own crowds. So apparently the league polled all the general managers, and all the general managers voted with self-interest. But the general manager did say that they thought it was purely an opinion, and that basically Adam Silver will make the call. It wasn't a vote to see which way the league will actually return. And finally, Austria's government has approved the hosting of Formula One's season opening races in July. So they'll happen on the 5th and the 12th of July behind closed doors at the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg. And that will be the start of the 2020 season. If they go successfully, then it's expected that it will continue. We're on the 19th of July over in Budapest in Hungary would be the next race. Silverstone have agreed to host 2 Grand Prix, but those are looking at being scheduled now in August. So yes, Formula One looks like it's getting off the ground there. Have a great day, everybody. You have started the day the best way, up to date with all of the important sports news here on New Zealand Sports Radio. Please do remember to share the video with your friends, or if you're listening to the podcast, then subscribe and obviously let your friends know where they can sign up for that as well. Stephen, myself, and hopefully Ashwin will be back tomorrow morning, Monday, the 1st of July, our 3rd month on the air, which brings the morning sports briefing at 7 a.m. Have a great day, everybody.
Cheers, Paul.